Okay, we're here in front of the Indian River Middle School today, and we have a fire truck, of course, behind us, and some of the students are coming out to have a look. We're going to have an interview shortly with some of the, or at least one of the gentlemen, regarding what's happening, so it should be quite interesting and quite informative today.
Okay. I'm ready.
I'll get you to introduce yourself first.
Okay.
And then I'll give you a chance probably to dress up again before we carry on.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Okay.
I have a long johns underneath.
Okay, it's quite cold here this morning, but we have a special guest all the way from?
In the Ottawa area.
In the Ottawa area, and your name is?
My name is George Potvin.
And I understand you are a retired fireman?
That's right. I retired last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
and how many years were you a fireman?
I was on the fire department for 33 years. And what we're all about is we're a non-profit historical group, and our mandate is to save the history of firefighting right across the country.
And we've got quite a bit of history even right behind us. Tell us a little bit about this truck.
This is a 1927 Sanford. When I acquired this, it was what you would call a basket case. It was just rust and everything was falling off of it. And what I did is I started restoring it, brought it to a fire station, got a lot of help from the firefighters to dismantle it. Putting it back together is a different story altogether, though. It took about 4,000 hours and brought it right back to what you see today. And the idea is that we can bring it to a school, talk to the children about the importance of saving their history, and while we have their attention, we try to deliver a fire safety message at the same time.
Which, of course, is exactly what you're doing here today in Indian River Middle School. But you took the effort yourself to restore this vehicle?
Oh, absolutely. As I said, 4,000 hours, and every part of it was taken apart. It was right down to what you'd commonly call a frame-up restoration.
And you've done an absolutely super job, as we can see here this afternoon. Where did the idea come from to travel across Canada? Because you're just now starting here in Newfoundland a few days ago, left St. John's and going across Canada. Where did that idea come from?
Well, when I first got this pile of rust, actually, I showed it to my wife, and I was dancing around it saying, "Don't you see what it is? Look at it. Isn't it ever nice?" She would say, "My goodness, what are you going to do with this? Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice?" I was just like a 12-year-old child. And then after putting all of these hours in it, I said, someday I'm going to drive across the country with this. That's 20-some years ago. Mm-hmm. So the idea has been sort of building and building and building. And in the last couple of years, seeing as it was a millennium year, and there were millennium projects, we decided, hey, maybe we could have some funding from the government, because they would fund up to a third of the project. Mm-hmm. So we approached the Millennium Commission, and after many reports and many applications, we finally got funding from the Millennium Commission. And then we went and got some of our sponsors. We got Direct Protect Insurance, which is based here in Newfoundland. They're part of the HB Group insurance company. And then we got some others, Energizer Canada, on board, and that type of private investors to help us along as well. But the biggest part is the hospitality of the fire services here in Newfoundland. Our budget was a little tight, so what we did is we asked the firefighters if they could help us with accommodations, food and fuel. And I'm telling you, it's hospitality here is. I've heard about it before, but I'd never experienced it. And people are falling over themselves trying to help, and we are just absolutely enthralled by it. It's really helping our cause along quite a bit.
So is this your first trip to Newfoundland?
It is, absolutely, and I'm coming back next year. I'm going to bring my wife this time.
But you won't be coming in a fire truck next time?
I don't think so. It's going to be pretty cold. And this time it's pretty cold. I think next year I'll probably try in July or June or July.
Actually, we have had some good Mays, and it's been quite warm, but we've certainly had a cold spell this time around, just in time for your visit, and a lot of rain. Actually,
it's a lot of rain. We got rained on quite a bit. Our seats are all wet, and you sit on that, and after a while it gets really cold. But it makes the part of the trip. People see us on the road with these trucks, and we're all there half frozen to the steering wheel, but it's making the trip an interesting thing. Breakdowns, we've had repairs at the fire stations, It's just phenomenal, the response from the people, and we can't say enough about it.
So are you expecting with a 1927, tell us a little bit more, you've got at least another vehicle, another two vehicles.
1927 Sanford is this one. We have a 1928 American Motors, GMC. Not American Motors, but GMC. They used to call them GMT in those days, General Motors Truck Division. And we have a 1939 Ford as well. And they're all in running condition, and every once in a while something breaks down, but we've had a lot of good response from people helping us along to fix it. So they're all functional, and we hope to do 10,000 kilometers with them.
So you carry a cell phone just in case of breakdown? Or?
Everybody has a cell phone, I'll tell you. And it's helped quite a bit, but mostly it's the people here that's made the trip possible for us.
Okay, and you're making several stops throughout our province, then on to Nova Scotia. Tell us a little bit about where your trip is going to end up and how long it's going to take you.
Well, it's going to go to all the way to Victoria, BC. We're going through all of the provinces. Unfortunately, couldn't go up in the Northwest Territories because the logistics involved. You'd have to fly them in. And we'll end up in Victoria, BC we expect September, barring any major breakdowns. And we'll be stopping at as many schools as we can possibly do in our tight schedule, and delivering the message, and hopefully it'll also deliver a message of fire safety.
So you've got another two gentlemen, I understand, with you as well. You got to have somebody to drive the other vehicles. They're retired as well, and became a part of this tour.
Yeah, about half of our membership, or I say 60% of our membership, is firefighters, active or retired. And the ones that we have here, as a matter of fact, we have 4 district chiefs from the city of Ottawa Firefighters, 5 of them really, and some of them retired, some of them not. And they are having a thrill of their life. We got screeched in previous town.
Grand Falls?
Not Grand Falls, the one before that.
Lewisport?
No,
Gander?
Gander screeched us in high style, I'll tell you. We're sort of Newfoundlanders by proxy, I think.
Well, that's great. I was certainly glad that you're enjoying your trip across the province. Where's your next stop?
Our next stop is next time Corner Brook. Corner Brook, yes. Okay. And that should take us about 5 hours, 6 hours to go there, barring breakdowns.
So what speed do you normally travel on the highway?
About 50 kilometers an hour, except when we're going up a hill, sometimes it's 15 kilometers an hour.
Is that right? You really lose the speed.
Oh yes, they don't have the power of the modern trucks. Well, the 1939 is the youngster of the group. It can fly along pretty good, but this one is very slow going up the hills.
So this is the one you're driving?
This is my baby, that's right. We have a crew of about 10 people.
Okay.
So we can change whenever somebody gets cold. But when they get on the wheel, they don't want to let go. They just love it.
And you've got, tell us a little bit about the uniform you have on today.
This is the original uniforms they would carry. They would have in the early 20s, from about 1920 to the mid 30s. They had this type of a uniform, this type of a pillbox hat as well. They'd have the gloves like this, and then this type of a thing with a bib on the front. So what we did is we found one of the original shirts, and we had the reproductions made of, and most people have one, so it just looks the part. And we have the old helmets. You see the old steel helmets? Actually, this is my original helmet when I came on the fire department, the Ottawa Fire Department, and that's what it looked like.
So that goes back a few years.
Yeah, well, 1966 they issued us with these, and then about 15 years ago they went to the more modern units. But you can imagine, it's a steel helmet. Imagine if you touch an electrical wire with this.
Oh yeah.
So you would get an electrical shock. They weren't quite as safe as today's helmets, of course.
So 1966, is that when you joined the force?
That's right, 1966.
Can you tell us probably one of your most satisfying moments as a firefighter? Go back over the years, you've probably had several things, but tell us something that stands out in your mind over the years.
Well, one of the biggest things, of course, is when you get back from a fire and you've done a good job. Everybody's really happy, especially if you've managed to save some lives. You get to a fire and people are hanging off the porch and hanging off the windows, and you manage to get up there and get them all out. That's very satisfying. But another one that I found to be very satisfying is when you talk to the children. I did a lot of public education for the fire department for the last 12 years. And you talk to the children and they tell you of a story about the fire service coming to their rescue, or they managed to get themselves out of a fire because of something they learned from the fire service. And that's really makes you feel very, very good. The big thing about what we're doing as well is that the fire service never gets to blow their own horn.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the few occasions when we get the chance to put them out there and make people realize that the role of the firefighter has changed so much in the last 15 years that it's gotten to the point where firefighters, the public doesn't know what the firefighter does.
Mm-hmm.
He does all kinds of things like extrication, defibrillation, first aid. So it's good in that way. It gets everybody knowing what the fire service does.
And in Springdale, and there's a lot of towns across Newfoundland like it, there's no paid services provided. It's all volunteer. So I guess you've got a special message for the volunteer firefighters that you come across Canada.
Yes, and the message that I think I have for the volunteer firefighters is that I really appreciate their being out there, because without them, the rest of the fire service would be nothing. They're there because they want to be there. As opposed to the paid firefighters. Paid firefighters, a lot of them do, but a lot of them don't have the enthusiasm that we see in a lot of the small communities. And I would say that most of them do, but the odd one doesn't. And we like to see that the fire service, the volunteers are there for the community, and they're there all the time. Mm-hmm. Somebody needs some help, who's there? It's the firefighter. Being professional or volunteer, they're there to help.
Well, we want to thank you so much for talking with us today. It's been very, very informative. We do so much appreciate it. And we wish you all the best on your trek across Canada. And we'll give you an opportunity to give us some final words if you wish.
Final words are probably the most important thing to us. Our mandate is saving history. So it's very important to save the history of firefighting. But it's also very important to while you're doing that, deliver a message of fire safety in the home and the workplace. That is our big message.
Well, thanks so very much for talking to us today, and all the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Now I'm putting my ear flap down.
Look at your eyes.
It's 55, dot 43.
No dipstick.
Well, there's no dipstick. We have 10,000 kilometers to go through. I hope it works up.
We haven't got a chance to go.
So we've been good on our time frame, you know, so.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you may, because it's so pretty good to go.
Wave to him.
Get one.